Hello, it is Sunday, August 28th, so this is a live, of course. So if you're just joining on YouTube, timestamps for That's Good will be below in the descriptions, and you can just choose your sun, moon, rising signs for the reading. Hey, Victoria, how's it going? How is the morning? Oh, I left my water like way over here. I'm gonna get that water. Okay. Doesn't have the same ring to it as get that bread, but it's okay. How's everybody doing? I know we're just starting out. Hey, good to see you too, Star. How's it going? Salome, hello. I might have said that incorrectly. I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty well. Nothing too crazy. I mean, there are a lot of cool things happening, but yeah, nothing terrible, which is good. I know I'm starting a little bit late. Good morning, Jessica. How are you doing? I'm starting a little bit late, so I understand not everyone might show up all at once like they normally do. When I started like 11:15, it's been a wild month. I hear that. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully September is better. It'll be different because they're showing me like this like turning of the ages kind of thing from August to September, but I feel like that's what we've been going through the past couple months on like personal levels. Most people tuning into these is what I'm getting. Pumpkin spice season, yeah. I don't have pumpkin spice, but I have pumpkins on the mug of water I'm drinking, which is nice. Yeah, I feel that has been from June onwards. Yeah, that's kind of like what I was getting around either June or July. Around that time period was when I started to get that message. Big reality checks, I hear that. Good evening from South Africa. Hi, how's it going? Nice and festive, heck yeah. So I know I'm gonna need to, what is this? Oh, okay. I have like, I'm gonna unmirror this so I'm ready for the live. Oh, that's so different. Okay, things are good. On the brink of change for a while. Feel like many possibilities open. Good. That's gonna go in a good direction is what I'm getting, which that's awesome. Just a lot of changes, I feel, collectively. Yeah. I don't know if that's going away. Okay. Yeah, that'll get better, Jessica. You've been unhoused since July. I do get that will get better, but hopefully that comes in soon and you're not unhoused. So I know that usually we have more people here by the time we start, but I'm just going to start the collective reading here. So this is just going to be for everyone. I'm going to put this up. I'll put it up in a second. I do have a theme. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing just channeled timeless readings. So if you're here live, of course, it's for you when you see it. And then I'll be posting it on YouTube too. So we'll do a collective reading for everybody. We'll do the sun, moon, and rising for the zodiac signs by elements, so fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and water. And then we'll do probably a channel at the end or see what they have me do with that. So I'm going to start the collective reading and just trust it's for everyone here. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I'm going to move it just so you can see it. And eventually I'll get a better system here for those, but that's what I got going on right now. Thanks for your input and holding space for my venting. You're welcome. So the theme that was, well, let me see what they want me to do here. So we're just going to start the collective. The theme I had for today, I was going to try and do a theme, is just like, how can you increase your abundance and what else do you need to know? And they are channeled timeless readings, of course. So here's the general reading. What can you do to increase your abundance for everyone tuning in? Really, it was a pretty simple first message, and I'll see if they have something more in depth, and of course we'll go more in depth for each, for the other readings as well for this this live. But honestly, the first example was to really get still and like even just to meditate. I know it sounds boring, but bear with me. They just said realizations will come and you'll get more abundance. And so, sometimes that stillness can lead to the shifts that like open you to abundance, or like you might feel like you need to like work to get something done in order to have more abundance. But if like you took an hour to sit still, like you'd have these realizations that make your work faster or just move you in a different direction that's more abundance. Or you just realize like just certain things that would be helpful for you regarding abundance. And abundance, abundance, can be in a lot of things. It can be monetary, like there can be financial abundance. Abundance can be in relationships and like having really good relationships. It can be in just enjoying your life and enjoying the work that you do. Like abundance can be in all things. So when I'm talking about abundance, I do mean financially, yes, but also just in general, like abundance and what abundance is to each of you and how you can get to that. So honestly, taking time to get still is going to be important to just getting the realizations you need to bring in abundance. Hey, what's up, Prince Priestess? So the next thing I have for like what can you do to increase your abundance for just the collective here that's tuning into this, honestly, and this has been coming through the past couple weeks, but I'll say it again. I'll say it as long as I'm guided to say it. Tell people the truth. It will change things and lead you to abundance. So whether it's in a personal relationship and you need to be like just truthful with what you've been experiencing and what's going on, and that either shifts the dynamics or things heal after, there might be an initial like clash a little bit, but after things heal and people adjust, the relationship becomes more loving and there's more communication, and so it becomes better and you have more abundance in that relationship. Or being honest, in a job, or honest with yourself even in a job, and realizing like this position isn't for me, or this isn't what I want, and they like shuffle you over to a different department, or you're able to make the moves that work for you because you're being truthful with people, if that makes sense. And like one of the messages they have, of course, is like to, not saying that all of you are doing this, but wherever you are lying to yourself, stop lying to yourself. Because, sometimes like people will convince themselves of certain things like, oh, I need to stay in this relationship for XYZ reason, or they'll be upset. Or like, you might be lying to yourself and be like, oh, we're already in this, it's easier to stay. There's like all those things you could do where like if you left, maybe something way better would, not that, something better for each of you in the relationship would show up afterwards if you left. Or I think you get what I'm saying with all of that. But for whatever reason, truth-telling is something that's going to help lead to more abundance for you guys, at least most of you. The third thing I had, and there are going to be more things they jump in after this, I think, based on what I'm hearing now. They just said work just a little bit harder, not too much more, but just enough to see actual results in the work you're doing. Sometimes if you just give like 2% more, I heard this from another reader, and one thing he would say is like just giving 1% more efforts like than like other people, or just like in general, it's just gonna yield like so many more results. It's like going that one extra mile, I guess you could say. And it's kind of a similar message where it's just like, maybe you're doing pretty good work, but if you just worked a little bit harder for like 5 extra, they're giving me a weird example, like 5 extra minutes, like each day, like it would make all the difference. So what's the best way to fully for that? I could bring this message through. It's like a lot of you are doing good work. If you just worked a little bit harder at something, like it would either like get going like a lot more, or you would just have more abundance for some reason of something, whether it's a relationship or a job or a business or something else. So I do feel like there's more that they want me to bring through before I just go into the other messages that they brought through. So what else would be highest much for me to bring through for you guys regarding abundance and bringing more in right now? So a weird side message, I know these are a little bit unorthodox, but I'm just going with what I'm getting grounded might help with abundance, because you'll just be more present. You might you might see certain things in your personal life just more directly, I suppose you could say, or more clearly, or you just might like realize things a bit more if you're getting more grounded and like kind of seeing things for as they are. Especially like if you feel like you've been up in la la land a little bit, or just like in your imagination. like getting grounded is going to help you to see the reality of things and like take action in a grounded way to change things or just make things happen. So I would just take some extra time to get grounded each morning for the next like week or so and see how that changes things. And I know like abundance doesn't always just come in overnight. I think it can, absolutely, but see how things feel if you just take time to get grounded each morning and maybe each evening as well, and just see what changes you're inspired to make as you do that, or just how things feel different for you as you do that. So anything else that would be for the highest good, and how to increase abundance for just collectively, or just moves you can make to help increase abundance. So this kind of came through for a lot of the different signs. It's just like, hey, like right now, know that you are headed towards abundance, but for a decent amount of you, like there's a certain amount of healing that's needed, or like things you need to work out of your system to make more space for it, or just to be ready to receive that abundance. And all of you are like learning how to receive more, and that's something the universe is guiding us through. And that might be a good thing to look into the next couple months, is like just things on receiving, how to receive more, even on like or probably especially on a metaphysical level, like what will it take to receive more into your life, like abundance and good things. And like some of you think you're not worthy, but you are, is something I'm hearing, and like working that out of your system and realizing you're worthy would just like, or at least becoming neutral about your worthiness, and not really, even if you're not swinging super hard either way, would open up a lot of receiving, is something I'm hearing for many of you as well. But there's a little bit more, so what else is going on here? The word last just came out of my mouth. Not what I intended to say, but whatever. One of the last things I'm getting here on this topic, before we move on to just the general messages that came through, is they're just saying relationships bring abundance. So you don't need to overly focus on your relationships. But a good question could be, where do you need to heal yourself so that you can improve your relationships or have better relationships, if that makes sense? Or where do you need to heal yourself so you attract better relationships, is something I'm getting. And for some of you, it's heart healing. For others, it's like solar plexus, like personal power, and self-image healing that would help bring that about. And others, it's a mix of both. And of course, like intuition always leads you to better, and to it always leads you to what's for the highest good to be led to. And once you have it honed in, it gives you the accurate information all the time. But for some reason, like just healing some of those areas and healing yourself regarding relationships is going to help with abundance. And relationships can be a key area of abundance, like I said earlier. So we're moving on to just other messages. And if any other messages on how to increase abundance come through for the collective, I'll bring those through. But we're going to be going more in depth with each of these readings. But so just like some of the other messages that came through for the highest good for the collective: waking up to opportunity. There's more opportunity on the way in business, health, and wellness. In relationships. September is about opportunity. Are you willing to take opportunity in the next month or so from whenever you're seeing this? So if this is timeless, so if you're watching this on YouTube, it's also like in the next month or so from whenever you're seeing this, it's going to be about opportunity for you. Like new opportunities coming in, maybe even old opportunities that are refreshed and like updated for you to take now. I don't know, maybe an ex is coming back for some of you, not all of you. And you don't have to take them back, by the way. And I honestly, that rarely ever comes up in the readings I do anyways, but it's just something I heard, so I'll say it. But there's just new opportunities coming in. So are you willing to take opportunity is like just one of the questions they have for you about next month from whenever you're seeing this, essentially. And the more you do, the more abundance that's going to come in, especially if they feel good to you, they feel light, they feel right. It's in alignment with your, I guess you could say, morals, or what feels highest aligned to you, what is highest aligned and aligned for you, if that makes sense. So the next message I have here, is there more with that? What else here? For some reason, they're showing this message of like you in like the garbage. And I'm not calling you garbage. Bear with me for a second. Because it's like you in like this garbage bag and this pile of garbage bags, like just garbage. And someone's like pulling you out of the garbage and like putting you where you belong, which is in like either a place of prestige, like they're putting you in a trophy case, or they're putting you something better. So what they're saying is like stay away from people who put you in the garbage, metaphorically speaking, or like treat you like garbage, or like put you down or like bring you down. It's like not worth it is something I'm hearing as a side message, because you're not trash and you never were, and to see yourself as trash is detrimental and just harmful. So you just actually belong somewhere with a lot more prestige is what I'm getting is an interesting message. So don't think you're trash, if that makes sense. And a lot of you are getting plucked out of a situation that makes you feel like trash and moved to a better one, or one that's like sets you on the road to recovery so you can be your best self is something I'm hearing. Whether you're being plucked out of, I mean, I'm hearing something even like an abusive relationship, which is not all of you, I know. But if one or a handful of you are being plucked out of an abusive relationship or job situation or something like that, like it's time to leave is something I'm hearing. Next message here, new. They just showed like the new is baking, like bread. It was new, but the visual was like bread baking, but the bread was representing the new. I don't need to explain all that to you, do I? But the message here is where abundance is lacking, there is new on the way. So, new opportunity, relationships. So something just got stale and, like you don't feel like you have a lot of friendships and like you've been lacking friendships for like a year. Like new friends might be coming in or a new friend or some type of new community is like an example I'm getting for that. Or if like, if you've been low on money and abundance has been lacking there for like a while, it's like you get a new opportunity or a refreshed opportunity for more money to come in, or you get a new idea for a business or something, or yeah, if that makes sense. So just new abundance and new coming in where there is lack essentially is something I'm getting. Excuse me. And they're showing me banana bread in particular for whatever reason. So 1 second here. Let me see what the message is for you on that. Give me 1 second here. If things have been like crazy for you, they're going to settle down. And like there's that, it's like people will call things bananas if it's a little crazy. So they're just saying like, if things have been crazy, it's going to die down for you a bit here, which is good. Or a lot. Next message, healing. They just said healing. We already kind of talked about this, but healing is going to bring in more abundance, whether it's heart healing or getting your health in line. Treating yourself like you are abundant is also going to help you bring in more abundance. So just more messages on abundance that came through. I really am interested in the message, treating yourself like you are abundant is also going to help you bring in more abundance. So I want to see if they want to give an example of that here. Fully fine, that's good here. So they're just saying, look at the areas in life where you already are abundant and like honor that. Like maybe you don't have a lot of money, but you're abundant in joy, and they're showing like someone like painting and nature, like you're abundant in joy and expression and with artistic ability or something like that. They're like, honor those areas of abundance and it'll start to spread out and kind of trickle. It might start as a trickle, but eventually turn into a big flow or monsoon of abundance into the rest of your life. And maybe that was a bit extreme or an exaggeration, but if you're honoring where you're abundant, that abundance is going to start to move out to the rest of your life as well, and not just be stuck in those areas. And the other thing they're saying is like, check your definitions of abundance and see if you need to expand that. Because maybe you felt like, abundance, maybe you felt like abundance to you was like relationships. And so you've been focused on having really good relationships, which is amazing. But then like some other area of your life is lacking but if you started to include different things in your definition of abundance, when you were asking for abundance from the universe, it would start to bring abundance into those areas as well. So maybe that's not something all of you need to hear, but just a few of you. But maybe it's a good time to just kind of check on like, what is abundance for me? And do I need to start including money in my definition of abundance and abundant living? It just, is something that there is an example. Anything more on that here? The other thing I'm just hearing is you are going to be led through the heart healing you need for abundance. There was a channel I did, well, they don't want me to say that. What would be highest much for me to say? They're just saying like, if that's something you need to bring in more abundance, that's going to happen automatically. You're being led to that. Next message I have here, new trajectory. So this is like half of you, this is a message for like, there's one message for half of you and another message for the other half of you. So you're just going to have to, use your discernment here. But one half of you have something new coming, like a new trajectory, a job, a relationship, etc., while the other half are going to have like a renewal on something you're already doing so that you feel more on the ball, or more like life is fresh is something I'm getting. I don't know why they said on the ball, but they did. Life is going to get interesting. So for all of you, I feel like life is going to get interesting. Half of you are going to get something just new coming in, like a replacement. The other half is like something you're already doing is going to get refreshed and renewed, and maybe like sent in a bit of a different direction, or in like a better direction. Or maybe like something that was like became stale for you becomes refreshed and like made new. Like maybe you made music and you used to love it, and then you kind of like lost your taste for it a little bit. But then like something sparked your interest in it again, and like you have this renewed passion, and whether it's a different genre of music that you start working on, or something else. Or maybe you just realize it's actually possible to be successful or something, and so you have this renewed fire for it. So something like that is like, are examples of the way that can show up in that way. But that is another message I'm getting for you guys. And then the last message I had for the collective, unless they have others they want to bring in besides that, so give me 1 second, was just new abundance. They just said next year, from whenever you're seeing this, next year is about abundance. So creating it, healing it, what do you do with it when you have it, etc. So if you are focused on abundance next year, you are going to heal a lot and get to a higher place in your life. So just a message about like next year, like if you're focused on your abundance next year as one of the things you are either prioritizing or just you're checking in on and working on, that's going to enhance a lot. Like every area of your life is what I'm getting. It's going to help heal a lot. Because like a lot of abundance issues are coming up to be healed around this time period is something I'm getting. But next year is going to be huge for healing abundance. So just keep that in mind, essentially. I'd start working on abundance, like mindset related stuff, like now is something I'm hearing as well as advice for you guys, whether it's whatever your jam is, whether it's Abraham Hicks. That's not my personal go-to, but if it's for some people, it really works for them and it's really helpful. So I never want to dissuade someone away from something that really works and is highest aligned, and good for them in their life. But like whether it's Abraham Hicks or it's whatever you do for mindset adjustment for abundance, it'd be good to dig into that now and like maybe through the end of the year, in addition to whatever else you're doing if you're not already. And maybe preparing for next year in that way is something I'm getting as advice. So anything else? I'm getting at least one more for the collective before we move on here. So there is a lot of new coming into, for the highest good, coming into you. Just like new ideas, new beliefs, you could say, new ways of viewing the world. A lot of this came through for like a specific sign as well, but it's coming through for the collective. Like a lot of you are just like either birthing a new you or birthing a lot of new through you, or just becoming new, if that makes sense. And I feel like that as well is going to lead to abundance. So if you're reluctant to like let go of the old in some way, especially if it's been something old that's been hindering you, like they're like, let go of that. Like it's going to be okay. Like there's so much new on the way. It's not even funny for many of you. And you think like nothing's coming, but it might be like a surprise, or like something surprises you with something. I'm getting with that as well. So letting go of certain old things might be okay, whether you're just cleaning out the garage to make space, with an as above so below thing, or whatever you end up doing, essentially. Because like I just get this message like and by they I mean you, like you are becoming new, all of you. So, and that's something that's what these next few months are about, is something I'm hearing as well. Is like you becoming new, either like just going through a rebirth or ending a rebirth or something like that. Or just opening up to this future you that's kind of birthing now is something I'm hearing as well in a weird way. So hopefully that makes sense as a message. So we're going to move on to the fire signs, sun, moon, and rising. Hopefully that was good and helpful for the collective and for you guys. And how are you doing, by the way? I started with, like, I think, 1 second. I know a lot of you joined just in the middle of me doing that collective reading, so hopefully you're doing great. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, and they actually said there's one more they want to bring through for the collective, so give me 1 second and see what that is before I move on to the fire signs here. So just a quick summary, I guess, and like just a really summarized message is like abundance is on a rise. For a lot of you, like it's going to be really helpful to just do like some type of self-healing, whether it's directly with abundance or somewhere else. And like once you do that, the abundance is just going to pop in. And like for a lot of you, that's just like all that's needed is like, and it might be a little bit different for each of you what that healing is, whether it's just relationships or past trauma or something. But a lot of you are just on that cusp to like, if you heard the train in the background, that's the verification. Thanks, universe. On the cusp of bringing that in. And that's why, what I'm getting is that's why I'm doing this live with this theme of like, how can you increase your abundance is one of the themes of this live in these readings. So fire signs, sun, moon, and rising. This is for you. If you're watching on YouTube, this is for you when you see it. If you're watching live now, of course it's for you now. But if you have if sun, moon, or rising fire sign, this will be for you when you see it. One of the themes is what can you do to increase your abundance? And then I'm also just what else would be for the highest good for me to bring through for you? What else do you need to hear is kind of like the theme of this reading. So as far as just like the first few messages are like, what can you do to increase your abundance? Honestly, the first thing I heard for you guys was improve your expression, like your communication, even if it's like art or however you express yourself. If you were willing to improve those things, abundance will come to you more and you'll feel less stifled is something I'm getting. And that could help with relationships if you're communicating more. That could help at work if you start to communicate and express yourself more at work and you get a raise or something. Or if you have a business and working on communicating and expressing yourself with, I don't know, advertising or with customers or something. And maybe you're showing your personality more. If you have like a, what's that slang term, solopreneur business or something, that could be helpful. So, but for some reason like that, I don't know if you necessarily need to work on your throat chakra directly, but improving your expression and communication and even artistic expression is going to help just in a number of ways. One is going to help bring more soul energy through you is something I'm hearing. So you'll be more like soul expressed, and maybe even be and feel more connected, which can be its own form of abundance. But I feel like it's just going to help in personal relationships as well. The other thing they said for you guys is like abundance is on a rise in general. So and this is kind of similar to what I just said for the collective message, but if you are willing to heal the growing pains that come up and keep facing your true north and like, you know, whatever drives you and keep heading that direction, abundance is inevitable, but you have to keep moving and making moves. You can't get stagnant. So that's another piece of advice for you about abundance is like, it's on the rise in general. So you might have some growing pains as you're moving towards it, but they're like kind of one of the messages for the fire signs was like fortitude, just in general. And we'll get to that in a bit, but just like having fortitude around this time and just like going forward, and like over the long haul is, well, they said no when I said long haul. So give me 1 second. Over this next phase, I suppose you could say, or just for however long you need it, is going to lead to a lot of like success and just like either coming out on top in some way or just better. So just keep that in mind as well. But I just want to reiterate the message. If you keep facing your true north and like what drives you and keep going with what drives you and head that direction, abundance is inevitable, but you have to keep moving and making moves. You can't get stagnant. So next message here, do something abundance related every day, a guided meditation, a brief prayer, an affirmation, something. Even if it's short and sweet, you will start to see results. So that's another advice for you about bringing more abundance in. It's just like some type of abundance focused prayer, affirmation, meditation every day. And like, don't quit. Like they're like, even if you do it for like a year, they're like, just keep doing it. So, and you can switch it up if you get bored or something, but that's just the advice I'm hearing for you guys. The other thing they just had to say about increasing abundance in your life is they just said, make sure you are doing something you truly love or are setting that up to do something you truly love or move that direction. Otherwise things might feel more stifled. So, let me see what they want me to say here. What would be highest and best for me to say? It reminds me of something that's, you might be familiar. He's pretty big on social media and like with entrepreneur stuff, but Gary Vee, he owns he owns VaynerMedia. He has like a ton of social media stuff out there. But one thing he was saying was like, he was giving this example of someone who like hates their job and they make like $60,000 to $80,000 a year or whatever. But he's like, instead of on their spare time binging Netflix, like what if they start a podcast on something they really love, like Star Wars, for example. and like they just go really hard with like every weekend, and like, you know, in the evenings that they can afford to do it, or they have time to do it, like they're working on their podcast and maybe something else Star Wars related that could be a potential source of income for them in the future. And like in that time they have like hope in their life, instead of just being like resigned to working in this job they don't like to take care of the kids and pay the bills or whatever. They have hope because they see like, oh, there's this possibility, like I can be successful with this thing I love doing. And so they'll be more excited for life even just doing that, because they're moving towards something they love, whether they get results right away or not. And then over the years, as they keep pounding, you know, something can break or give way and they can have more success. And I know that's like just kind of a more mainstream example. I know like there, you know, a lot of you are magical people. You can manifest way harder than that. You could probably bring in something really amazing sooner. Some of you is something I'm hearing, if you were to put in the work and manifest. But I think that example can be powerful, and please excuse the lawnmower if you hear lawnmowers outside. Just because like, just adding that excitement into your life and moving towards something you love doing, it could just bring more abundance by itself, because your life feels more abundant by doing that. And it just starts to bring in opportunities and gain momentum, and that can be more exciting and fun for life that way. So the other thing they just said is, and this came through in the collective as well, but it's important that you are being honest with yourself about what you want. It reminds me, they don't want me to say that. What would be highest much for me to say? It can be important to get to knowing what you truly desire when it comes to bringing in or manifesting abundance, because then you're bringing in what you actually want and something that's actually fulfilling, and not something that takes like 20 years to build and then you're like, never mind. And you know, it's probably still okay and leading to something good. Like if you built like they're giving me the example of like an oil company. Like you built an oil company for 20 years and became a billionaire, but then you hated your life. You'd still have like billions of dollars. You could like sell the company or shut it down, and you'd still have billions of dollars to figure out what you wanted to do with your life. So it's not like that was a waste of time necessarily. But you can just have a more direct path if you get really clear on like, what do you truly want? Okay, so anything else on what would help the fire signs bring in more abundance? Fully for the highest good here. I mean, I was kind of borrowing a little bit from like an access consciousness thing that they would talk about, like just figuring out what you truly desire. They would give this example of like, if you walked into a store that was like really expensive, a lot of people will be like, oh, I want this and this and this, because they like actually can't have it. But it's like, what if you had like all the money in the world, you could have anything you wanted? Like, what do you actually want from that store? And like, usually it's just like one or two things. You actually don't want all those things you thought you wanted. I don't think that's everyone here, by the way, but it's just an example of that I'm saying. And I don't think my guides wanted me to say it, but I said it, so sorry, universe. How does it get better than that? So moving on to just any other messages that would be for you guys. I'm bringing in abundance, fully for that is good. They just want to add another angle to a message I already brought through, is like getting clear on what you want and going that direction is going to be a lot better than getting pulled around by like what you think other people want of you or what other people are suggesting for you. And of course, like if someone's like coming up to you and they're like, they channel and they're intuitive and that they're like a friend of yours and you can trust them, and like, I'm really getting this for you, and like they've always been spot on, like you can probably trust that. But if it's like your mom who's just like, oh, you should marry this person and get this job and do this thing, and then our family honor will be maintained, or something stupid like that, maybe it's better for you to be like, no, I actually want to be a druid in the forest and make potions and hang out with rabbits. And if that's what you truly desire, like, don't build a life you resent other people for because you did what they told you to do instead of doing what you felt called to do. So that's it. I'm gonna move to like just more of the general messages that came through for the fire sign. So like, just what would be for the highest good for you to hear, or no, what would be for the highest good for me to bring through for you. So one of the messages that came through for you is just like things improving. So if you feel like your metaphorical boat of your life has a hole in it, it actually does not. It might seem like your boat has sprung a leak, but it's an illusion. Things will be going in a good direction if they are not already. So they just kind of showed this metaphor of like, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your life. You just feel like there's a leak and things are sinking, but for whatever reason, it's not true. Like things aren't leaking or sinking. you're actually okay, and you're going to be moving to a good direction, which is good. Next, they brought in the message like improvement to self. So they said this is a time of self-improvement for you. So if you are improving yourself, you will win. Take a look at what needs the most improvement and start there. Success follows, even if it seems unrelated. So you might think like, oh, what I need to improve is I keep eating donuts for breakfast and it's obviously impacting my health because I feel awful every day, and there's nothing wrong with gaining weight, but maybe that's not what you want. You're gaining weight and you're just like, you're tired all the time, and you're like, you know what, this needs to change. And you stop eating the donuts and you start eating something healthier that doesn't spike your blood sugar in the morning or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, you get a new job offer and you're like, what? And it's like something about changing the frequency sometimes, or improving things. Like, everything's connected, like, can just bring in a completely different opportunity. And sometimes it's directly related, of course, like that correlates, that makes sense too. But sometimes it's also just completely unrelated. And that's kind of something they were kind of showing me with this. And that's like an example I could give you on that one. So another message, they just said, you are headed towards success. It might be a long road for some of you, but if you persist, success is on the way. And there's that fortitude message. There's another one too, but that's just a message they had for you, is like, you are headed towards success. It might be a long road, but if you persist, success is on the way. The next message, you are meant for better things than normal. Don't get caught up in normal. You are meant for better things than normal. So what do they mean by that? Maybe you get seduced into, what's an example? They're showing me an example that I have someone I knew went through, and I'm not sure if I should use that one or a different one. So what would be the highest and best example to use? Like, maybe you get seduced into being like a corporate manager, and you're like, you get this job and you're like, okay, this will pay the bills while I build my business. And then you're like, oh wait a second, I could get promoted, and then I could be a corporate manager, and then I'd wear this cool suit, and then I'd be set for life because I'd make $80K a year and things would be really good. And you're like, yeah, that's like fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's like, if that's not what really calls to your heart and soul, and you want a more magical, and you can have an office manager job and have a totally magical life, by the way. But if you have that, but you actually want to, what's a good example? You want to be a shamanic instructor and teach shamanic journeying to people and heal people with shamanic work. Don't give up on that magical dream just because you have this normal thing. It's just like this. That's just an example, but there's this message that you're meant for more than like normal, or better things than normal. And getting seduced into normal is a trap, so just don't go there. And if you need to go there for a temporary period of time, or just if that's just something you're divinely guided to do, like, trust your divine guidance, obviously, but that's just something that they want to say for you, is like, you're meant for more than normal. Next message, our good friend Elephant showed up for this reading, and the message I got was, obstacles are going to be removed. So if you feel stuck, pray or ask God to remove obstacles. Obstacles are there for a reason. When they are there, they're not there to harm you. The other message because they had me come back to this message after I got through a bunch of it and sit with it again. So one of the more deep messages in this is like, for you guys, the obstacles are within, not outside of you. So go within to remove the obstacles and you will succeed, is kind of the advice. So you might think the obstacles are outside of you, and it's like, oh, it's your job, oh, it's this. But it's like, if you turn inward and take a look at like, what are the obstacles inside of me that I need to release to succeed, you might find that it was like, maybe you did have time after work to like work on your business, but you thought you didn't, or you thought you were too tired, but it's like you really just needed to get started. And once you got started, you'd have plenty of energy and momentum because you'd be excited again instead of like tired, is like an example they're showing me. Or, that's just an example, but just keep that in mind. Ganesha also showed up as well. Ganesha is the Hindu god of removing obstacles. So I find it interesting Elephant and Ganesha showed up. But this was the message where fortitude came through. They just said fortitude will lead to success. Have fortitude and things will get better. So this is not a good time to cave or collapse, or, you've been through worse. Many of you, is something I'm hearing, if you're going through something or trying to succeed and like running up against something. So just not a good time to cave in or collapse, or I guess you could say relapse for some of you, even if it's not like an actual like, substance relapse. It could be a different type, but just have fortitude. I feel like you're stronger than you realize. Don't cave just because it's comfortable, is the quote they're giving me. And that's not a quote, that's the phrase they're giving me. Next, is there more on that? The next message, cloud, they just said to be gentle on yourself. They showed me a cloud and said, be gentle on yourself. You are healing a lot, and being hard on yourself won't help. So just a reminder to be gentle on yourself as you're healing or going through anything else. They're giving me this concept of a gunshot wound, and I do feel like it's more metaphorical, but give me 1 second to sit with this here. Like sometimes there are events in life that, you know, they're not literally a physical gunshot, but they feel like a gunshot, like emotionally. Or like you feel like you're doing great, and then someone's just like kapow, metaphorically, and then it's just like you're dealing with this like wound. They're just saying like if you've gone through anything like that, just take time to heal that. Like they're even saying like don't worry about abundance and like all that right now. Like take time to heal that and get to a good place, and then you can focus on abundance, is kind of what they're saying on that one. But I also feel like if you went through anything like that, it's going to heal quickly, and it's not as bad as it seems, which is also good. So anything else for the fire signs, sun, moon, rising, before we move on? They're just kind of iterating that. Well, actually, I'm wearing my Ganesha shirt. I completely did not realize that, but I just remembered. But Ganesha would be a good deity for you to work with right now, like with abundance, with healing. I'm kind of getting he's here to help you right now if you're working through things. And I'm just hearing like life gets better if you're working with something to remove obstacles, whether it's energy work, whether it's a mantra, or it's Ganesha or whatever. I just feel like that's something that would be helpful for you guys right now. And I just also feel like sometimes you guys create your own obstacles, and that's like part of the issue, and doing something to remove obstacles would help like shift that essentially, even if it's just setting intentions to remove obstacles every day or something like that. You'd get the realizations you need to change that, or you just stop doing it. They're also just saying mental clarity is on the rise for you guys. So you're just gonna have more knowing on what you need to do in your life is kind of what I'm hearing on that. But if you've been feeling clouded mentally, I feel like that's gonna be going away soon, essentially. For some reason, they want to bring through this message about randomness before we move on to the earth signs. They just said life isn't random. Like it might seem random, but everything's connected, and there's kind of a reason for everything. So I don't know. That's just a quick message. That's it. But that's it for that. I feel like, well, I say that, but then I get another visual. So what would be the highest and best message for me to bring through to help wrap this up, or just what else do you guys need to hear here? This kind of came through for, I think it was either the earth or the water signs, but I'm getting this, they showed me like a condor, and I don't remember or know or quite realize if condor is totally going to perfectly tie into this message with like the typical meaning of like condor spirit animal or anything like that, but it's about like long journeys. And it's let me see how they want me to bring this message through. So it's going to be a little bit different for each of you, but some of you are either like starting a long journey, or you're like ending a long journey in life, whether it's like a job or just like a phase in your life or something like that. But what they are saying is like be willing to go on a long journey, like whether after one closes or something else, and like the phase is going to be a lot better. And like they're saying like maybe some of you might refuse or be like, no, I'm not doing this again. But it's like if you would be willing to go on that long journey, like a different long journey, it would be like a lot better than the first one, is something I'm hearing, and like lead to where you need to go. And like you might end up just feeling a little bit more stuck if you aren't willing to go on that long journey, if that makes sense. And you know, if any one of you are listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what this dude's talking about with long journeys, I'd say like don't worry about it too much. Maybe just like if you feel like that's something you feel called to call in, like call that in, manifest it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. I feel like it'll either just work itself out, or you'll naturally know what I'm talking about like a month or so, or 2 in the future, or 3. That's what I'm hearing, something like that. So we're gonna move on to the earth sign, sun, moon, and rising. I would just know that you're headed towards a long journey, and it leads to really good things if you take it. Sorry guys, there's one more message for fire sign, sun, moon, and rising here. They're showing me electricity here. I do see you guys just getting sparked to life a bit more, especially if you felt like dead inside, any of you, or just like more like dead or like numb. I feel like something's going to be coming to like bring you back to life a bit more in this next phase, which is good. Okay, so we're going to move on. So I hope that was good. Fire signs, sun, moon, and rising, and made sense and resonated. And so we are going to move on to the earth signs, sun, moon, and rising. So if you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. And I'm going to move that sign just so I'm not like all in. It's like little cat hairs. Okay. So if you have an earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's going to be this is going to be for you when you see it. So thank you so much. This did resonate. Perfect. Always glad to hear it. That's perfect. So earth sign, sun, moon, rising. If you have an earth sign, sun, moon, rising, it's for you when you see it. If you're here live, it's for you now. If you're watching on YouTube, it's for you when you see it. So first segment is how can you increase your abundance? The second is just like what else do you need to hear? What other messages are for the highest good to come through? And if they mix and match those a little bit, oh well. But earth signs, how can you increase your abundance for the highest good? Honestly, for you guys, they just said sit pretty, abundance is on the way. You've earned a lot of the abundance on the way. So there are messages on how to increase it more, but they're just letting you know like it is coming, like anyways. So some of you don't, or a lot of you don't have to do anything, if not most of you, because they are clarifying most as I say that. So abundance is just kind of on the way. The other thing, it kind of came through for the collective a little bit, but they just said work a little bit harder, just a tad bit, and that will increase abundance. And like sometimes that like little extra effort makes all the difference. There was like one reader I used to watch a lot, and he would say this thing like, just working like 1% harder or putting in like 1% extra effort just can make like all the difference, especially if like no one else is putting in extra effort. So that's just another way you could phrase that advice, or like an angle you could phrase that advice. But I just feel like some of you need to put just a little bit more work into something, and it will take off, essentially, is kind of what I'm getting. So just keep that in mind as well. Like just also like don't give up prematurely on like projects or things like that. Like if you work on something for a week and then give up, it's like, did you really give it a chance? like give things a couple months, like give things a year, like and like you have your whole life, essentially, is kind of what they're saying. So even if like something like takes 6 months and like it didn't work necessarily, you still gain like all this wisdom and experience for the next things you're doing. And I feel like I'm at a place now where I can be more of a testament to that, because there's all these things I've learned just in the past, just over the past, like especially the past decade, I guess you could say. But even before that like really are just so of service to what I'm doing and building and creating now. Like it's not even funny. Like, like it just all makes a lot of it just makes so much sense, honestly. So just keep that in mind as well, regarding like just putting more effort into things. But one of the pieces of advice is just don't quit before you really give something a chance. Especially if you're really excited about it, or we're really excited about it and have a good feeling about it. Next message, I feel like this is just going to be for almost everyone that tunes in, but self-healing. But for you guys, especially regarding relationships, this will open the door to abundance and love, especially like past relationships, love relationships, your relationship with your parents. I would just dig into that a little bit, or maybe just sit and reflect and maybe ask the universe, like, what healing do I need on those relationships, and what will it take to heal that with grace and ease, and maybe even fun, and see what shows up for you regarding that, essentially. And like they're saying, like even if you're just doing like self energy work sessions, for those of you who do that, that's going to be enough, is something they're saying on that one. The next thing I have for you guys, stop getting in your own way. Abundance can be something you just allow. Many of you are making it harder than it has to be. Allow things to be easy. And like you can manifest things being easier, whether that shows up right away or not. And there's a quick side note that I feel called to kind of bring in here. When it comes to like manifesting, once you get like better at manifesting and just, what's the best way to say this? there can be a point where you like get better at manifesting, and it's maybe you could say it's almost like a skill, or you just like, you know how to do it. And so it gets easier to manifest things like ease into your life, or like make those like shifts in your life in that way. Whether it's through like doing energy work and increasing your energetic potency, and that helps like the potency of your intentions, or you keep showing up and doing that work with manifesting until you get all the realizations and what you need to like just get better at it, and you become more magnetic and it's more potent, it's easier to shift things. So keep that in mind as well. Like if you're trying to like manifest ease and it doesn't show up tomorrow, like one, it's probably on the way. You're working things out of your system to allow more ease into your life, or you might have to go through certain things, or the universe is leading you through certain things to bring more ease, like realizations, or just cutting out things that are difficult, or cutting out where you're choosing for things to be difficult. Two, like as you get better at manifesting, it becomes faster too. So don't give up just because you asked for something and it didn't show up that night or something. And it can show up that night depending on where you're at and what's for the highest good. So hopefully that is helpful for someone who needs to hear that. Next message here. We just did that one. Stop getting in your own way. So anything else on that one? They just, for some reason, they have this message like abundance can be easy. Stop making it difficult. And, you know, hopefully you just understand what that means. And if that doesn't make sense to you yet, maybe you'll get some messages or watch someone else say something that makes it make more sense in the future. Next message here, inner shifts lead to outer abundance. So a little bit similar to the fire signs. It's a little bit of a different angle, I'd say, but it's kind of like the collective message for bringing in abundance was, well, they don't want me to say that. What would be for that's good for me to say here? Just know that if you're shifting yourself internally, especially for the highest good, you're going to become more abundant, essentially. So self-reflection would be really good right now. But anything else on just what would help increase abundance for Earth sign, Sun, Moon, and Rising right now? I would literally, this is going to sound simple, but whatever. I would just set an intention for your life that things in your life are just as abundant as possible, that or better, and just start to see what shows up. Many of you are potent enough to, at least some of you are potent enough to make that happen. But others of you will at least see results, and you can just kind of like build on that like wave that kind of starts to come in as you're just like setting this broad intention for that. And you know what, even if you're not an Earth sign, you can try that too. Why not? Anything else here? And for whatever reason, what they're saying as far as like what that does when you do that. So they want to go further into that. They're like, what that does is like, it's going to show you like where you're not abundant or where you haven't been letting abundance in. Especially if something starts to trickle in to like an area where you haven't had abundance, and like maybe you forgot about that area or didn't realize it. And you're like, oh, things can be good here. There can be abundance here. That can be healing as well. And then you'll be able to kind of open that up more. So there's more of a flow of an abundance in that area that maybe you'd forgotten about or abandoned. So that's, for some reason, that's what they want to say about all that as well. So kind of a multifaceted message. So moving on to just kind of like, what are the messages that are for your highest good right now? What do you need to hear? Or what came through for you besides all that, is they just show me a blue jay, so happiness on the way. Bluebirds symbolize happiness and stuff for me. And 1 second here. You know, it kind of equates to the Sun tarot card almost, to me, you could say, like as a sign when that shows up. So beyond that they just said, there is more for you in this life than anything you've seen previously, period. You are headed towards so much more than you ever experienced before in a very positive way. Be open to success and be ready. It's time is another message that I'm hearing for you guys. So for if not all of you, the vast majority of you, it's time for something, some type of success, some type of up-leveling, or just like abundance. Literally, time for abundance is something they're showing me as well. But it could be more for you than that as well. I'm not going to limit this message for you. Just know, like, no matter what you've been through, there's just more, in a very positive way. There's more for you that's coming in like big ways, is something I'm getting. And they're saying, like, you might think you're meant for what you have right now, but they're like, you're not. Maybe like, yes, you're meant to have it right now. Like, yes, you're supposed to go through this, but some of you have just been in the training grounds for something greater. And you're going to start to see that and step out of the training grounds and into the real deal, you could say, for the highest good, which is really cool. So just a lot more abundance on the way, which is the next channel message I have here. Abundance is on the way. So here's where Condor came in. So it kind of came in through the fire signs, but here's the specific message I got for the earth signs with Condor. Long journeys coming to a close and starting new beginnings. It's a time where you're wrapping up old cycles and truly heading to the new. You are going to be beginning something brand new soon, whether it's a job, career, business opportunity, etc. You are getting a renewal to your life and a revitalization to where you felt dead. So I guess that also came through for the fire signs, which is really interesting that they're bringing it through for both here, but some of these similar messages. Fire signs for the journey part seemed more like be open to taking a long journey. This is more like you're ending something that's been like a long journey. But I feel like it's a relief, this ending. It's not like a, oh no, my 10-year marriage is collapsing. I think it's more like using the example of abundance. You've been going through a lesson of abundance for 10 years. Or you've been learning how to build a business for or something like that. I don't think that second one a business one was the right example, but something like that, where you're just coming to the end of this long phase or journey and it's time for success or this up level or something is kind of what I'm getting on that. Or just starting something new and reaping the rewards from the past or of the past is something I'm hearing as well. Next message, they showed me a seal, like an animal, the seal, and it was about balance. Weirdly enough, they just said peace is going to come in where you felt anxious. You are going to feel 10 times better. Balance is being restored to the emotional body. See, they also showed me like the seal animal bouncing a ball like on its nose, like they do at the zoo, I guess, or whatever. And they just said to have fun and play around a bit more. Like life will get better if you're doing that. So, and the next message was literally a continuation. They just said invite in fun. More fun is on the way. So combination of fun is coming and invite in the fun. So anything else on that? Fully for that is good here. So they're kind of showing like you getting rounded out by the universe. Like maybe you've been really gung-ho about one area of life, like business, for example. But the universe is like, well, what about friendship? And like, let's round this out a little bit more. So you're not so far into business that you forget to work on anything else in your life. And 10 years later, you're lonely and afraid is something they're showing. I don't know why you'd be afraid, but that's the example. So the universe is calling you to round things out is something I'm getting for those of you who feel like you need that. But I also feel like the universe is going to be rounding you out a bit more and like showing you like, where do you need more balance? Where are you lacking here? But that's the other message on that is like the peace coming in too, which is good. So that's another way they're bringing through the message on balance, in addition to like balance being restored to the emotional body. Next message, we already talked about fun, but they showed me a banana. So it's a little bit different than the banana bread message in the collective. For banana, for earth signs, they said silliness and letting your silliness out might actually lead you to more success. So for example, like if you've been really quiet in the workplace and like no one really notices you, and some people want that and that's fine. But like what if you might find like if you let your silliness out with like a coworker, they'd be like, oh, this person's really cool, and then all of a sudden like everyone loves you and then you get promoted or something, as an example. Or it could be like if you're on social media, it could be like letting your silliness out a little bit, like people are just gonna like love that, if that makes sense. And you don't have to like tank your content and like become a comedy specialist or something like that. It's just like a little like play or silliness through. And like another message they're bringing through is like spirit is playful. Like if you talk to angels, you probably know this, but in my experience, angels crack so many jokes, like they're hilarious. They're some of the funniest beings. They didn't want me to say that, but they're really funny. I like spirit guys. They're super funny. They definitely have a really good sense of humor, and it's never in like a let's prank you way, really. And they're like only when it's really funny and only for the highest good is what they said when I said that. But just keep that in mind. Like it's okay to be like silly a little bit and like bring that not childishness but childlikeness out. And I remember early in life there was one teacher I had who would just went on this whole rant of like childish is like acting like a child, like throwing temper tantrums and like being a little that was almost a little bit sounded a bit judgmental of me, didn't it? Being a little baby about things, or just like like spoiled rich kid would be an example. Not that I don't know if there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but childlike is like you have that playfulness, that expressiousness, that like expression that light in your eyes, that vibrance of life and soul, you could say, would be like child. I guess you could say, I don't feel like I'm saying it perfectly, but that's the direction of childlikeness, if that makes sense. I guess like they just really want to pound in these messages about truth just for however long, but truth, okay, what they said for you guys is like, you are telling the truth and you will be. So I just feel like you guys are going to be telling the truth to people around you and just in general, which is good. And I feel like most of you are being honest with yourselves. Some of you can still work on that, but you'll know who you are. Another message, kind of just continuing off of this play message, is just enjoy life. This is not a good time to let silly, this is different silly than the last silly. This is not a good time to let little things trip you up or silly little things trip you up. This is a good time to enjoy life and let go of the people who are dragging you down. If someone is dragging you down, they don't have your best interest in mind. So the message that came through, they don't have your best interest in mind if they are constantly dragging you down. Even if you think they do, or they act like they do. Someone who's constantly dragging you down either has a lot of work to do on themselves, or they just actually don't have your best interest in mind, whether they say they do, or maybe even if they think they do, which my body pendulum goes to no, so I don't think they even do. I don't even think they do think they have your best interest in mind, but just keep that in mind regarding people dragging you down, in case any of you need to hear that, or all of you need to hear that. They showed me a fire-breathing dragon. They just said you are protected. No one is going to bring you down, in case you were worried about being brought down after I said that, or just in general. And the last thing I have written here, channeled down here, unlocking a new you. You have a new you unlocking that is birthing into the world. It is time for abundance, and you need to be a new you for it, for many of you. You are going to birth a new you and have abundance. So that's kind of like culminizes. I need to invent new words, guys. Kind of culminates a lot of those messages, but I want to see if they're fully flashed good. Any other message for the earth signs before we move on to the next one? They're showing me the Titanic, and some of you are like, oh boy, and some of you are excited because you like the Titanic. That's not true. I just made that up. But they are showing me the Titanic, and what is the message with Titanic here for you guys here? They're giving me the word indestructible. So where is this going? So some of you actually are indestructible in a sense, and you not, okay, take this with some discernment. I'm not saying go jump off a bridge, you'll be fine. But some of you are indestructible in a sense, and you don't need to worry. Like the Titanic actually did need to worry, but you don't need to worry. But for others of you, what's the message here? Pretty much what they're saying metaphorically is, even if you think you're indestructible, avoid icebergs is kind of what they're saying. So what would be an example of that, so it makes more sense for you guys here? You might, for an example, maybe you have a business and you're like, oh, this business could never fail. It's like printing money. And that's all well and good, but pretty much what they're saying is that doesn't mean don't pay your taxes, would be like an iceberg, or just some type of really big mistake like that. Or that doesn't mean okay, start treating your customers like crap because this business is so good and our product's so good, we can just not care about people and just do whatever we want. That would be another iceberg. So that's just an example, but take that out. That could be somewhere else in your personal life as well. It could be oh, this relationship's so strong, I feel like I could just do anything with this person and it would be fine. But they're okay, but that doesn't mean start being manipulative, or that doesn't mean okay, I can just quit my job and do nothing and lay around the house because my spouse will pay for everything and I don't need to do anything for this relationship because he loves me so much, or they love me so much, or something like that. Would be an iceberg example. So that's just kind of a message. Some of you are indestructible, you don't need to worry. Others of you, even if you think you're indestructible, just avoid the icebergs anyway, just in case. So, and no one should really be heading directly towards icebergs in their life, by the way, regardless of what they think. But that's the message on that one. There's one more they're kind of showing me. They're kind of showing me a lot of chords from the past leaving or dissolving. And I feel a lot of you have done the work to dissolve the past. So any last remnants of the past are going to be falling away more easily. Or you might even find certain things in your life that you thought were meant to stay with you falling away as well. And I don't mean to freak you guys out. And pretty much what they're saying is it's just because there's something better for you. And you've done enough work that that thing that leaves is no longer resonant and it would hold you back if you stayed with it, if that makes sense. And that could be a number of different things. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, we're moving away from the earth signs. We're moving to the air boys and girls and non-binary folk. Okay, so if you have an air sign, sun, moon, or rising, that message hit. Perfect. I'm glad to hear it, Jennifer. That's one of the things I aim for with these. It's super helpful. It hits. It's accurate. It's doing what's for the highest good. So, thanks, Destiny. Hi, Destiny. I'm gonna drink water before I forget here. So, if you have a sun, moon, or rising, that's an air sign. Sorry, it's not mirrored, so it's like a little bit different. If you have an air sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. So if you're live with me, of course it's for you now. If you're watching on YouTube later, it's for you when you see it. So 2 segments to this. What can you do to increase your abundance is the first one. Our channel messages I brought through on that. And then the second message are like, what else do you need to hear? What would be for the highest good for you to know? What to source from the angels want to tell you, that kind of thing. So first round here, and if they mix and match it a little bit, that's fine. What can you do to increase your abundance? So fully for the highest good. And some of these might seem a little unorthodox, just don't worry about it. I'll see if they have more direct messages as well that are more, normal, I guess, but we'll see. Pray. There's a lot of shifting that needs to happen, and doing energy work on yourself, praying for obstacles to be removed, and otherwise turning to the divine is going to bring a lot of abundance in. There's nothing you're doing wrong. There's just healing that needs to happen. So pretty much almost everyone has had this message of there's some if you're healing yourself, it's going to open you to abundance more. It's just in different ways slightly is kind of what I've been getting for these different readings. So anything else on that one here? They're just kind of reiterating, don't beat up on yourself. It's not like you've been doing things wrong. Sometimes we just go through things in life that we need to heal, or that in some way we're a lesson preparing us for the future, or teaching us what we need in life. But sometimes there's still healing that needs to go along with that, and on top of it being a lesson or whatever. But if you are willing to shift, I feel like you are going to succeed. I feel like that's across the board for almost everyone here, because it's just been coming through over and over again, but that's the message, so I'm going to say it. Next message here: letting go of people who drag you away from abundance, whether it's a spouse, a friend, or someone else. Stop giving your life away to people who don't want you to succeed. And that's not for all of you, by the way. I feel like that's for a handful of the air sign people tuning into this. But if people are just blatantly keeping you from abundance or something you want to do, no matter how much you talk to them or express your concerns or express yourself, it's time to at least consider is there another option here? Do I need to walk away? What would be highest and best for me in this situation, essentially? And you can just take a second to sit with it a bit more if you feel like you need it, instead of just leaving like that. So I would be discerning and take a second as well. But that's just a message coming through, is if people who are just blatantly dragging you away from abundance, stop giving your life away, because that's your life, do you really want to give up dreams, ambitions, what's for you, just for someone who doesn't want to see you succeed? And I know they might really appreciate you and love you on a lot of levels, but do they really, if they aren't honoring what your dreams and targets in life are? It is, I guess, a question. And maybe yes, but also that just means they have things to work on in themselves. So next message here, they gave me the word trust. They said, trust your path. And one thing that might help you guys, and this is just not being, there's that, I don't want to make fun of ADD or ADHD at all, but there's that joke that they'll make where they'll be squirrel, they'll doing something that's squirrel. And they're just kind of when it comes to your path, do your best not to be squirrel. When someone else starts doing something cool or something shiny shows up over here, they're the second something shiny someone else is doing pops up, so not doing that the second something shiny pops up that someone else is doing will help you to succeed long term, because you don't get lost in other people's paths. What's for you will come. So trust your path and like where you're headed and what you desire, because there's a lot of shiny things out there. Being a basketball star looks really cool, maybe to some people. Being on Broadway, I don't know if a lot of people want to be on Broadway, but that could be like really shiny. Or I don't know, being a, what's another example? It kind of reminds me of like the example that came through in like for one of the past readings I just did, and I don't remember which one, but it was like not being seduced by normal, like being a corporate office manager when you want to be like a shamanic practitioner or whatever. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where it's like there's these shiny things and like other people start doing it and you're like, oh, that's so cool. But it's like, what about what's for you and your path, and trust your path, and like eventually what's yours will come your way. Otherwise you're pulled around by 20 different things and you don't get anything done. So next message here, truth. They just said being, obviously, I'll just say it as long as it comes through, but being honest with yourself and others. Some of the roadblocks to your success and abundance will be undone if you are honest with yourself and others. It would get you out of relationships that hinder you and move you towards opportunities that are for you. Take a second to reflect and see if anything comes to you as far as like what those things you need to be honest with yourself are, essentially. And like, you know, this like realization of what this is talking about might be something that hits you a couple days from now if you're not totally sure what's being said here. You can take some time to reflect instead of just like, some of you know automatically, you're just like, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about. Others of you might just be like, what is he saying? So just sit with it is what I'd say, and see if anything comes to you. So there was like a quick reminder, and this kind of came through in like both segments of the reading, but just don't chew people out, like be kind. I feel like being kind is going to help lead to abundance, or at least like biting your tongue when you're about to be unnecessarily abrasive towards someone, I suppose, is something you could say. Because maybe you're hindering your abundance in certain ways by chewing people out, if that's something you've been doing or have been catching yourself doing, and how so. Like maybe if you have a job, you're chewing people out at the office and no one wants to promote you because like you blow up on people once a month or something. Or maybe if it's your kids, like you chew your kids out a lot, but then they don't really want to spend time with you because they don't want to deal with angry mama or papa, or you know, as like an example. And so like you don't have as abundant of a home life. And of course you have to be able to handle those situations with your kids. And I'm not saying never yell at your kids, because you know, you guys are parents and you have experience with kids, so hopefully you know a good amount what you're doing with that. But that's just an example, you know, of something to keep in mind. Or like if you have like a girlfriend or boyfriend and you chew them out a lot, and then they don't want to spend as much time with you, or they start to question the relationship, is something I'm getting to. And like, it's okay to be angry. But maybe like a question is like, what are the consequences of me taking this anger out on this person right now, instead of taking a second to process and come back when I'm feeling a bit more able to handle this conversation, is like something you could think about, or, you know, apply that to your situation. There was just another message. Again, it was similar to I think the fire signs, but just having some type of regiment of prayer or intention for abundance. So even like mala beads is something they're showing me, like where you say a mantra like 108 times. And like that can be a good way to start to move energies, is like you're setting that intention 108 times every day. Like that's really gonna move energy, you know, that's gonna start to have an effect. So just keep that in mind as like another option for abundance, is some type of mantra or prayer like that starts doing that. I feel like a lot of you are like in some ways, like, let me see what the message is for here. For some of you, like you are actually like ready for abundance. There's just like a few more things you need to work through, like inside yourself or in like certain relationships, and it would really open the doorway much wider, essentially. But you know, like following all this advice, these channel messages are geared towards helping you to get there. So if that makes sense. So there's one more thing they want to bring through that I didn't write down here or channel down here ahead of time. So what's that message here for what would help you increase your abundance? Fully fly is good here. there's just a reminder just not to let the outer world dictate what you want. Again, it might look really shiny to have a yacht, but you might be someone who's miserable building $1 billion business. You might do much better with $1 million and a pontoon boat. Or it's like an example, but you're happy doing what you love or something like that. I'm not saying you can't do what you love and make $1 billion. I'm not here to limit you, but that's just something they want to get as a message to you, is not letting the outer world like pull you around and lead you down a path that's not abundant for you. Anything else here? I'll just see if anything comes out and comes through more as we're going through the other messages that came through for you. So what do you need to hear? What are the other messages that came through for you? Fully, that is good. You guys are headed in the right direction, whether you think you are or not. You are actually headed in the right direction overall. So sure, maybe there's a few kinks to work out of the system or whatever of your life, but I don't feel like, you might feel lost, some of you, but I don't feel like you guys are like lost necessarily. Or in the wrong direction. The next thing they said, it was about challenges. They said challenges are lessons that prepare you for the future. You are not being challenged for no reason. If you feel like you're encountering challenges, keep heading in the direction you are going. So don't give up just because a challenge pops up. It's teaching you something for the future is what I say. Next message, you are meant for more. So you are going to be getting upliftment out of challenges if you have been going through a lot of challenges. So if it's been like overbearing challenges, I feel like I got like 3 different messages on challenges and they were all kind of separated interestingly here. But I feel like if you've been going through a ton of challenges, you are actually going to be lifted out of those at the same time, which is good. So that's good. The other thing they had to say about challenges, they showed me like a rock wall. They said like a big, massive like cliffside rock wall. And they said some of the challenges you are facing aren't as difficult as they may seem from a distance. So if you were to tackle some of them head on, they would disappear. Or like if you were to tackle them head on, they would disappear. And like an example of that might be like maybe you get a letter from the IRS and you're like, oh no, IRS time. And so you open up the envelope and they're like, there's this whole thing about money. But if you were to just like call them and like take it head on, they'd be like, oh, my mistake, we made a mistake or something. I don't know if they would actually be like that. I have thankfully not dealt with the IRS very much. But aside from like normal tax things, filing taxes. But that's like an example. It's like, maybe something presents itself, but it's not like, as you're like looking at it, you're like, oh my God, it's like a rock wall. I have to climb this rock wall. But as you like get into it, it's like, oh, it's just, there's like a hidden path and like you could just walk. I don't know, maybe there's a tunnel instead of a rock wall and it led you right to where you wanted to go instead, as a metaphor. Anything else on that one here? I feel like I've been saying this a bit this live, but one message is like some of you do make things more challenging than they need to be for the air signs. And how so? What would help you guys out with this? For that good. It's like this weird concept of like sometimes you think life has to be difficult, or so you make it more difficult, or like there's like a weird message, this might not be all of you, where it's like you think if something's not difficult, like it's not worthwhile achieving. So it's like you make things difficult is like a weird message they're showing me as well. I would try to heal that and realize like even if it's easy, it can be quality, or even if it's easy, it can be good and worthwhile. And like things can be easy. And it doesn't mean that they always will be, but I think if you open up the possibility and opportunity for them to be, you have a much higher chance of manifesting that and bringing that into your reality. I'm gonna take some water. Than if you're just constantly thinking that life has to be difficult, if that makes sense. That was like a really weird side message, so I don't know if that was for all of you. Well, I can check, was it for all of you? Maybe for like half of you. Next message here. It was just another reminder, I already kind of talked about it, but just being gentle with people, it will just help to increase your abundance in many ways, especially relationships is like a way they furthered that message. I do also just feel like abundance is on the way for you guys in general. And like they said, like a lot of you are like ready for abundance. It's just like 1 or 2 things, but I would be gentle. And like, a lot of you already are abundant. I'm not like coming at this from the approach that none of you are abundance and you've never heard of abundance and you've been living in a cave with cave drawings and eating, slugs for your life. But it's like, how can you increase your abundance more than it is now is kind of like what this is about, if that makes sense. So there was like a lot that came through for the air signs now that I'm looking at this, so I'm just gonna keep going here. Um, I feel like I've said this some of the past readings for these, but they just said your path is opening wide, especially if you felt like blocked or stifled in your path. Sometimes there are just delays so you can heal something or be prepared for the future, or it's like a timing thing. But I do feel like your path is being opened wide soon, so it's like just either an easier path forward or just like a known path forward. It's not like you're trekking through the jungle trying to find your way, through the foliage or whatever. So it's just going to be an easier path essentially, or a path that's easier to traverse. Elephant also showed up again for you guys. It was kind of like a weird message about you, because elephant showed up, but it was like about your gifts. One second here. Okay, so pretty much what they said is acknowledge your gifts and what you're here for. Acknowledging your gifts is going to help you to succeed. If someone or people point something out to you over and over again about how you help them or what you do, acknowledge that you have that gift. Don't poo-poo that gift. If you start to do that and acknowledge your gifts, that will remove obstacles because you won't be hiding from what you can do. So really strange message, and hopefully that makes sense, but it's like maybe you're really good at something, but you never acknowledge it, so you never like see it as a viable skill that could make money, as an example. But I find that last part, like you won't be hiding from what you can do, really interesting. So I'm going to ask for more clarification to help you guys out. Hopefully that's good on this one here. And it's kind of similar to like one of the other messages. It's a little bit different. Like some of you think you need to be good at this specific thing to be worthy. But it's like what you're really good at is plenty on its own. So like an example could be maybe your dad always was like, oh, you have to be good at sports. Otherwise you have to get an office job and you're not worthy of success. So you have to be a sports pro or it's nothing, or something like that. And like maybe you had that belief somewhere in the back. This is an example, by the way, not all of you, or maybe even any of you have gone through this, but you have that belief in the back of your head of like, oh, because like I'm really good at music, but because it's not sports, like it's not worth pursuing, or, XYZ, even though everyone tells me like I'm super great at this and I should do this for a living or something. So that's like an example of that, is like acknowledging you're actually good at something could like open the doorway a little bit more. So hopefully that makes any sense at all. Anything else that would help make it more sense for you guys here? Even if it's like little things about how you help people, like acknowledge that. And I'm going to tell the example I heard that's kind of similar to this from a different spiritual teacher, like Lee Harris. He's a channeler. I like a lot of his work, if not most of his work. I think he's great in a lot of what he does. But one of the things he talks about is like, if someone is consistently like telling you the same thing about what you're like, something you're doing, like if you're putting out music into the world and everyone is constantly like saying the same exact like thing, like, oh, this was so cool and I felt so excited and amped for life, and like you just hear that or some variation of that phrase like over and over and over again, like that's like the value you're bringing through that thing. It's like to people, it's like you're getting people excited and amped for life, and you might be like, no, I wanted people to become introspective and moody like me, but it's like that wouldn't be a target or something you would be going for. It'd probably be more along the lines of like, oh, I wanted to change people's lives and have them go for, I don't know, sorry, I'm having a tough time coming up with an example. What would be an example for this? Hopefully that's good here. Maybe you wanted to have a different impact than that. Maybe you wanted to calm people down and like soothe them and like take away anxiety, and like, yeah, exciting people is great, but like maybe you have it in your head like calming people down is the only way to like heal people or have your music be helping people, but it's like people are telling you this other way. So it's like acknowledge that and like just maybe go further into that, and like that could help, if that makes sense. So I don't mean to, I feel like I've just been like beating that one to death, that message, so I'm gonna move on and hopefully it just made sense. So they did show me like a scarecrow, but they gave me the word straw man, weirdly enough. They just said, they said don't get scared away from opportunity, take the opportunities that come up. So like scarecrows scare the crows away, so don't get scared away from opportunities that come up. But anything else on like straw man, if that's something they want to go further into here. they're just kind of, it's kind of more moving in the scarecrow direction. They're saying like a lot of the things that like scare you aren't real. Like maybe like you, this is something I've heard. Well, I want to use a different example. What's the highest of this example? Like maybe you want to be famous for something, but you're afraid like something will happen where you get hurt if you become famous, as an example. They're just saying like, it won't happen. It's like some of those things you're afraid of just aren't real. So take opportunities anyways, is what they're saying. One more message on that one here. And if people are trying to scare you away from opportunities that you know are for you or that you would really like don't listen to them, or something like whether it's family or something else. Next, whale kind of showed up, whale spirit animal. They said, you are being elevated slowly to a better trajectory. Be patient. The universe is slowly working things out of your system. So just know you are being slowly elevated. They showed like a whale, but it was like this weird like pulley elevator system with like chains on a slab of wood, and you were just being like slowly winched up. That's kind of what they were showing. So if you think you won't be successful, you will, is something I'm hearing as well. Just know you're being elevated slowly is something I'm getting. I just feel like things are working out of your system at the proper pace. There was another message like you are being scrubbed clean of a lot of past stuff right now, air signs. So like let this process happen of you being scrubbed clean over the next month or so or less. It's necessary for your next steps. So being scrubbed clean could be like having realizations about the past and letting things go. It could be energetically, like you're getting an energetic tune-up and clearing away, an ex's energies or something, as an example. Or you're just like, it could even be letting go of old ideals or letting go of old dreams that aren't really what you really want anymore. I'm getting like a ridiculous example. Like maybe you wanted to be a goth singer and you wanted to spread moodiness and glum wherever you went because you were goth and depressed, but then it's 10 years later and you want to spread joy and butterflies, and you have to let go of this dream of being a goth singer and become a pop singer instead. I don't know. Next message. You know what? And goth can spread joy. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to stereotype goth people. I've met really cool goth people. Watermelon, they showed me. They just said sweetness. They said life will get sweeter, but you have to be patient. So life is going to get sweeter for you guys is something they're showing me. And you never want the watermelon before it's ripe. Otherwise it's not sweet, right? Or same with any other fruit, I guess. So trust that there's like a timing to like certain things happening for you or coming in for you, or like the sweetness of life coming to you. Like if it came in too soon, you wouldn't be ready, is something I'm hearing. So keep that in mind, especially like regarding success or like things you dream of. I feel like you're being prepared for it. Next message, they showed me a tiger. They said, be aggressive with your dreams to get stuff done. Otherwise you're a sitting duck. Don't do that. Tiger is here to help you be aggressive. So I know you might have to be patient, but I would still be aggressive with taking action on your dreams anyways. I just feel like otherwise you might not do enough is just kind of what I'm hearing. So I would just be a little bit more aggressive with like taking action and getting things done. And like the question that's coming through for you is like, what would you do if you knew you would succeed? Or like, if you knew this would be successful, like how would you work on this? Or how hard would you work on this is kind of something they're saying. And even if you're not sure if it's going to be successful, like do it anyways and see what happens. Because otherwise, is it really going to have the chance to be successful if you're not putting in the work to actually make it successful, if that makes sense? Interesting message. But next message, they just said a higher future. Your future is improving. You might think your future is stuck or set to be like the past or your present right now, but it couldn't be further from the truth. So just know your future is improving. And you can manifest your future gets better, by the way. That was something that I think, what was the best way to say this here? I think Lee Harris did a channel on something like that, and there was an exercise I went through that way where it lets like you feel into your future 2 years from now, and then you just kind of get like, what does that feel like energetically? What is that? What will that be like? And then you ask that it gets like 10 times better or twice as good or something. And then you like feel into what your future will, and after you do that, you're like, okay, what will my future be like, that same amount of time in the future? And then like you'll feel the energy and it will be like better. And then like things will start to manifest to like get you to that better life. I think I did a different channel guided meditation with like a similar function. I don't think it was the exact same, but I did a channel guided meditation and something, not the same exercise, but a different exercise so it achieved the same result came through. That's on YouTube. So just know it's possible to literally improve your future. Anyone tuning in that needs to hear that. So water signs, sun, moon, and rising are next. Anything else on air signs before we move on here? They are showing me the crystal onyx, or the stone onyx. So what's up with onyx here? They're just reminding you it's important to get grounded. It's just, I know this came through in the collective, but in case you didn't see that, it's just important that you're getting grounded just like every day, like in the morning. And like even like asking yourself like, okay, what do I need to do today? And like that can be an intuitive or channeled exercise, like what do I need to do today, and just see what shows up, and like you can jot those down and like go towards it. Or like you might just realize what you need to do today, you know, or just, it's just good to at least ask that question of yourself and the universe every day. But for some reason, getting grounded and asking a question like that could be helpful for you right now. And would also keep you from stifling your growth, is something I'm hearing as well. Because, you know, sometimes we just get caught in our heads and like we're really like on fire one day, and then the next day happens and you're like, who am I? What am I doing? Like you had a weird dream or something. So try to get grounded and get clear, and then take action is what I'd say. Or just check in on what you need to do that day. I think that would be helpful. Okay, anything else for you guys? Nope, we're gonna move on. So that was the air signs. Thanks for joining. We're going to the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. Whoa, right there. Make sure that stays up. That's good. Whew. Okay. Water break. Thanks, Destiny. Also, shout out to the moderators. As I drink water. Destiny is pretty much always here. She's awesome. She's great and just helps a lot. So, and all the other moderators that show up, Texas Jess shows up, and if someone else showed up, I have not been paying attention to chat, but if you're here and I didn't see you, I'm sorry, but I want to say thank you so much for being here as well and just helping out and keeping this running well. So we're going to move to the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. So I'm taking one more swig of water here. If you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, if you're watching on YouTube, it's for you when you see it. Otherwise, it's for you now if you're live with me now. So for the water signs, the messages I want to get, like what will it take to increase your abundance? One, some of these are just what already came through for some of the other signs, but truth, being honest with yourself and others, it's just gonna open the road to abundance. It's gonna help shift things so that they're changing and you're bringing in what's for you and just heading in the right direction. And then just kind of giving this message, like living a lie doesn't lead to abundance, whether you're lying to yourself or others. It's just important that you're being honest for whatever reason in certain situations. And it's not like you have to go to work and tell your boss what you did last night if you were out like partying or something. It's just like, it's more like what relationships are you lying to yourself about? Are you staying with someone just because you feel bad for them instead of like you actually want to be with them? You know, like things like that is kind of what would make more sense is what that message is for, but take it as it resonates. Next message, they just said to work faster. So like instead of like don't delay your work or put it off, like just working faster might improve your abundance for the water signs, whether that's like a job or that's a business, and like maybe you've been a little bit slow with your work, or maybe a little bit scattered. But if you're willing to pick up the pace, which is some of your work, I feel like that's going to help with abundance for at least some of you, honestly. And next message here, stop letting the past dictate what you do. Base your choices intuitively on like what you see now. The past is there to be a teacher, but it is not there to control your life or keep you in a loop. The time is now to break free of past circumstances. So also just like either healing the past, or I'm getting this message like no matter how something went in the past, trying again. So maybe what's an example of this that would be helpful for you guys? Fully for the highest good. Maybe you have this idea that all relationships suck, as an example, and like all your past relationships have sucked, and so you're kind of like, oh, I'm never gonna get into a relationship again, or you're just like, oh, like I'm just gonna get into another sucky relationship because they all suck or something. But it's like, what if you let go of that and looked at the examples around you of non-sucky relationships that friends or family members or other people have, And you're like, what if it's possible for me too? You know, as like a weird example that is a little obvious, but you know, it's I'm doing my best. So anything else that would help you with that message, or would be for the highest good for you to hear about that here? Also, just like not being stuck in the past in your mind. So what would be an example of that? It's like maybe like you've gotten out of a situation and you're in a much better situation, but somewhere in your mind you're like still back in that past situation and you're still like, life is terrible, but it's actually like not. So I think taking a moment just to get present and to breathe, like, how is life actually for me? And that's another like good intuitive exercise for those of you who get messages or do intuition, is like, how am I actually doing right now? Because you might think you're like not doing great, but you're actually doing really well. You're just feeling tired, or like you might feel like you're doing great and your body's just like, slow down, like you're physically exhausting yourself. So I don't know, it's a good exercise to do intuitively as well. It kind of came through for everyone, but you know, for some reason they just really wanted to bring through the obvious message of just like manifest abundance, like pray and manifest abundance. Come on now, it's kind of what they said. I want to see if there's more just like direct messages that would really help with this though, and like helping you guys bring out in more abundance. So fully, if that's good, what else would help you guys bring in abundance? Any actions you could take, anything else here for the water signs, sun, moon, and rising? So for you guys, some of you do need to get clear on like what abundance is for you. Because some of you might think abundance is like a jet and a 5-star hotel and the what's it called? Those apartments at the top of the buildings in New York or whatever that are really expensive. I don't remember. It's not coming to me. But like, you might think abundance is that, but maybe abundance is like a different version. Like maybe it's living on a sailboat in the ocean, or maybe it's van life and that freedom is your abundance. Or maybe it is like having all that wealth that you would have with that apartment in New York and having a jet, but it's like you just need to allocate that wealth differently and you'd feel more abundant, if that makes sense. But just getting clear on your definition of abundance is going to help, because you'll start to just magnetize that in, and you'll just be less confused on what direction to go in to bring in abundance. Because you might be like, I'm going to work this corporate job, but it's like, sure, that's more money, but is that more abundance? It's like, it might be and it might not be, but getting clear on what your definition of abundance is going to lead you in the right direction. So I apologize if I'm repeating messages, but I'm just doing what I'm getting here. So we're going to just move on to the other messages that came through for the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. Just what do you need to hear? What else came through for you? And if they bring it through more on abundance, like, that'd be awesome too. But the first message is be brave and make changes. The more brave you are, the more you can succeed. Bravery leads to success. So there is just a recommendation to be brave at this time for like making moves, making changes, starting new things, whether it's a business or whatever. I love the quote, just like oh my God, if I could say the word, bravery leads to success is like that quote. And there was another one that was really cool for you guys too. It was like joy leads to success, but I'll get to that in a second. And they're like, oh, you ruined the surprise. Sorry. But bravery leads to success. Next thing here, key changes are coming, whether you initiate those changes or the universe brings it your way. There are key changes on the way to change your life, changes that you need to succeed. So allow change to happen. You will be appreciative you did, whether it was forced or you did it. So I would not block change right now. I don't think you can even. They're saying you can't. But really allow change and kind of invite change in. And they're giving you this message like change is the key to unlocking what you want. So I feel like that's just coming in though, whether you're just going to have an aha moment and initiate change, or it's just gonna like happen for you essentially. That's just something that's coming in for you right now, over the next month or two is what I'm hearing. And it could go further or be more long lasting, but that's just what I'm hearing. They did show me the color yellow. They showed me the solar plexus. It was kind of like this message of like, don't let other people beat up on your confidence. So getting to a confident place takes courage, and others might not like it that you're confident. Stay confident and let the people who can't deal with it leave. For those of you who feel like you've become confident and are dealing with that. They're just saying like not to let people beat up on your confidence. It's not worth it, essentially. It won't help you. It doesn't really even prove how strong you are or anything. It's just like an annoyance. Like you could do to live without that. So if you feel like you're going through that, just don't let people beat up on your confidence is what I'd say. The peacock spirit animal showing up as well now. I'm getting the message it's time to shine. So it is time to put yourself out there if you've been wanting to put yourself out there, or just put yourself out there in a bigger way. It's time to launch projects if you're at a place where you're close to doing that. It's time to initiate change, essentially. So if you feel called to do that, kind of like that earlier message said. So peacock spirit animal here just to let you know it's time to shine, and to kind of even like go big with things if you feel called. And you know, there's the great quote that I feel a little cheesy saying, but you know, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you land among the stars, or whatever. And for some reason, they're just giving me this message, like, just go big with what you're doing. Just trust us, is like what they're saying with that. So, okay, I'm just going to trust that you're getting from that what you need to get from that. A dragon is showing up again here. So but it's like showing up a little bit differently. It's this dragon with like these black scales, and like it just showed me this visual, and it started to move. Like it was close up on his neck, and he started moving. So what's up with this dragon here? So the dragon is bringing this weird message, like abundance is within you. You just need to work on bringing it outside of you. And so for at least some of you, it's like you're living in abundance inside of you. And like they're giving me this message, like what will it take for your outside world to reflect that, if that makes sense. So can I get a bit more of a deeper explanation on this one, please? Fully for that is good here. They're just kind of giving this message, like some of you are afraid to feel abundant because you don't see abundance outside of you, but it's like that abundance is inside of you. So if you unlock that abundance and like you feel that, like it'll help. Well, what's the message here? That will help to bring it out more. And also just getting in the frequency of abundance is going to help you unlock more abundance for yourselves. So I'll give this advice, and I think this could help anyone, not just the water signs, by the way, but one of the examples I've heard from, I think this was also from Lee Harris, but I've heard other people talk about it, is like, especially like regarding money, is like, why don't like go to like coffee shops that are like ritzy or more like they feel more abundant, or there's more like people who are rich there, or go like an example they would give is like going to like a really, really fancy like hotel, and then like just buying coffee and hanging out in like the coffee area, if that exists in America, because I think they were in London, the people giving that example. So it's like you could, like, even if you don't have a lot of money, like you're getting around money energy, and you're kind of seeing like getting around that abundance energy and frequency, and you can start to kind of imbibe a little bit of that. And it's not like you're energetically vampiring off of people, you're just like getting in the money energy and just imbibing that a bit, and you get to see a bit more like, okay, these people are rich and they're really happy. These people are rich and they're sad. Like, oh, I guess all kinds of people can be rich. I can be rich too. It's like things like that. But it's like getting in that energy could really help bring in like abundance as well. So whatever that means to you, I try to bring in that frequency and sit in that frequency. Okay. What else would be highest for through? Next message here, peace. They said peace on a rise. You are going to be feeling more peace and contentment. So keep working. It's important to keep working on things and keep moving forward and doing the work, but you will have peace at the same time. So peace doesn't mean stop. I think that would be obvious anyways, but I don't think those things are mutually exclusive, work, peace, and not working. But I do feel like more peace is coming in for you guys, which is good. They also showed me bread. They just said the universe is bringing that dough your way. If you've been worried about money, don't be, which is good. So I want to see, I didn't like really have as many general channel messages for the water signs. So I want to see if there's anything else they want me to just bring through or just flow with. Fully for that's good while we're here. On just for you guys, just whatever would be for your highest good here at this time here. So there is this message of like, you know, there's that phrase like your ship's coming in. And for some of you, yes, your ships are coming in. For others, like you might, or for many of you, you might have to go out and get your ships. So it's like one message is like, don't necessarily like wait around for all your ships to come in. And if you like, for instance, well, what's the message here? So there is abundance coming, but at the same time, if you go out and like make things happen and go out and get your ships, you're going to be even more successful, or like there's more abundance. So I feel like there are actions you can take to like encourage the ships to come in more, or You're almost like showing someone like, you know, like when you're trying to attract a dog, you have like a treat and you're like whistling, and but it's like someone with like a trying to do that to like ships or something, and the ships are all like, you know, coming at them to like get the treat or something. But there are actions you can take to like go and get your ships, if that makes sense. So I would keep like working on things. Like I wouldn't like stop working and expect everything to happen. But if you're willing to keep working, I think there's a lot of abundance coming in for you guys, is something I'm getting with that one. So what would be another example of going and getting your ships, if that's for the highest good here? So like an example of going to get your ships would be like, maybe you think like, oh, I'm just going to stay working in this job and the ships will come in. But it's like, maybe you actually need to start a business or a side hustle and then like go get the ships, if that makes sense. So that's another example on that one. So anything else for you guys that would be for your highest good right now? Water signs, sun, moon, and rising. Just another reminder, like I kind of have said this already or hinted at it, but it's not a good time to really like lay around necessarily. It's definitely a good time to be like taking action and like working towards things. And now and even over the next couple months. And I know it's interesting because I know there are like a bunch of retrogrades coming up like the end of September and whatever and all that. But they are kind of recommending to like keep working through that and like, or like start now on things and like keep working through those periods of times. They're like, there's going to be a lot more success for you if you're fighting your way through those periods and continue to work through that energy than like if you just stop because there's a retrograde and you're like, oh, well, Mars retrograde, can't do anything. Like, that's not true. And there might be other placements or things going on for you or destined things that like, it's really important you keep working through that phase, if that makes sense. So another message is don't give up just because there's a retrograde, if any of you need to hear that. So anything else for the water signs, sun, moon, and rising here? There's just a reminder, like regarding your abundance you have right now, or as it comes in, like don't share all of your abundance, keep some of it for you. Like keep a healthy balance of like enough for yourself and then like, or maybe even a bit more than enough for yourself and then give to others. Otherwise you might like run dry. Because I'm getting this message, like, of course, the universe is infinitely abundant. There's infinite abundance for everyone. Yes. At the same time, like regarding your resources, the well might not be infinite, like right away, like coming off of this reading or like over the next few months. So as abundance starts coming in, don't just like give all of it away or spend all of it. Like, in a healthy way, start to hoard some of it. And I know hoarding has a bit of a connotation with that word, but I'd ask you to let go of that a little bit and see some of the wisdom in what they're trying to bring through, where it's like, eventually you'll hopefully get to a place where you're abundant and don't have to worry about it in some ways. But at the same time, like as abundance comes in, don't just give it all away, essentially. They're kind of saying that's it for the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. I understand that might have been a little bit briefer than some of the other signs, but hopefully that's good. And you just didn't need as much today, or just got what you needed from those messages. It's 1:11 my time. I'm going to stretch. So, okay. But I hope that was helpful and made sense just to everyone who's been here for the readings. You're welcome. So we are going to are talking about doing a full channel mode channel, maybe in a second. One thing I wanted to ask first is like, did you guys have any suggestions or things you wanted to see for like themes for these readings? Like, cause right now I kind of attempted to do, or well, I didn't attempt. My intention was like, what will help to bring in more abundance for you or help you increase your abundance? Hopefully those messages were helpful. But is there a different theme you'd like me to tackle, or just anything you'd like me to do in the future? And then, yes, water before channeling for sure. And then or if you don't have suggestions, maybe a new theme every week. Oh yeah, totally. And that's. I was just wondering if you had additional things you guys wanted to see as themes for me to tackle. Whatever spirit wants, that's fair. I guess that's how I've been approaching it. There's wisdom to that too. Actually, I'm gonna wait till I'm really closer to like actually chanting. Thanks, Destiny. Okay, yeah. I can just keep doing whatever comes through. So let's do that. So we're gonna do the channel. So a lot of you are probably familiar Will this be on YouTube? Yes, Crystal High Vibes. I will be putting this on YouTube probably later this week. Since I started doing the signs method, it's been really easy for me to like timestamp these, so it's been a lot easier for me to get them on YouTube. So yeah, this will be on YouTube probably later this week. So this is going to be, I'm just going to directly channel my spirit guides, the angels, and source. The name my spirit guides gave me for them is the Angelic Collective of Zorbital, if anyone has been interested in that. And so pretty much what's going to happen is I'm going to probably cough a bit, and then they're probably going to laugh, and then they'll start channeling through a message for you guys. And two things. I know some of you have been with me for a while, you know, but there's an energetic channel, energetic transmission that goes with the channel, and then there's also the words that come through as well that my guides speak. So you're getting more than just words when you tune into a channel. It's also like a energy healing sort of thing as well, you know, and it's fully for the highest good, of course. So fully for the highest good. I'm going to see if there's a theme they wanted to provide for what this channel is about. I'm getting abundance and upshifting who you are. However, they might take it and run originally in different directions depending on what is for the highest good to come through. So abundance and upshifting who you are. Here we go. So give me 1 second. Welcome to this live or whenever you are watching this channel, for it is for you when you see it. And this is, of course, about abundance. For each of you is actually inherently abundance. There is so much abundance on earth with the experience you have in nature and in your experiences of love with other people, and even in some of the lessons you gain on earth that give you experience to be a greater person in the future. For threads of abundance run through all things, even if there are experiences you did not want or wish you never had. Believe us when you say there is so much. Believe us when we say there is so much abundance on earth to be had through every experience you are going through. If you will just look for it and turn over the stones to see the threads of abundance that run through all things. For this world is abundant. There's abundance in nature and in the beauty that you can find in the clouds, in the trees. There is beauty and abundance in the energies you can bring forward from source and work with that are from source. And from source you can get any energy, whether it's Reiki, angelic lights. And working with energy is one thing that, of course, could lead to abundance if you're working with healing and healing patterns in yourself to bring about more abundance. But it's also a form of abundance in and of itself because there is infinite energy available to you through source if you will connect. And spiritual connection is another form of abundance we would urge you towards as well. Your intuition, connection with your soul, as we so often talk about. The more connected you are, the more abundant you become. And maybe it doesn't physically seem like that directly, but hear us out. The more connected you become, the more abundant you are and become. One of the main threads of abundance you can find here on earth is through connection. Connection to spirit, connection with each other, connection through the experiences you have when you have money or utilize money to have an experience. When you have connection, you have abundance. One of the greatest things you can do for yourself is get connected. And this can mean different things for each of you. If you are just starting out on a journey, connection to your soul and source and spirit might look like the synchronicities and signs that appear around you if you are not yet in a place to directly hear channeled messages. It might even be booking a tarot card reading with a reader of your choosing that resonates for you and getting messages from spirit through that. It could be through you learning any form of energy healing modality that resonates with you, or any modality that brings you more connection, and working with that and working with the energies that come from source and building your connection there. But one of the main threads of abundance that you will realize are important for you is that of connection. And you are becoming more connected through this channel. That is one of the energetic encodements we are bringing through for this message. For you are meant to be connected. You are meant to be connected. And some of you came to Earth to see how connected you could get with each other, with nature, with the planet, with Source, while you're here on Earth. And you are all, of course, already connected. It is all one. But how much can you awaken to that? How much can you hone that in? And as you get more connected, or awaken that connection more, or uncover it, you begin to realize more of what abundance is for you in the first place, because you will start to feel more abundant. You will see how connected you feel at a certain job, in a certain relationship. You will start to cherish it. You will start to honor it. You will start to honor the connection you have with everything. And as you're honoring and cherishing these things, you are elevating your frequency and bringing in more things to honor and cherish, more abundance. And so many of you think you are unabundant, but you have so much abundance within yourself if you only look. If you look at your heart and the emotions you hold. If you look at your health and your ability to walk, which not everyone on your planet has that capability. And this is not to shame you or degrade you for not being grateful enough or appreciative of not. That is not a game to play that is fun. And it is not true that the universe will take away your abundance for you not being grateful enough, ever. That would be a framework of punishment, and the universe does not do that necessarily. The universe will teach you if you need to learn something, but it's not here to take away abundance because you are not grateful enough. That being said, gratitude and appreciation could be forms of abundance. If you are in those states, you are going to be feeling much more abundant. You're going to be feeling much better about your life, and you are going to be attracting much better to you because your focus will be on what are you grateful for? What do you appreciate? And you'll just be able to move in those directions. Because if you are just looking at doom and gloom on the planet and, oh, the economy is going to crap. Oh, Donald Trump, who likes that guy? Oh, Joe Biden, what's wrong with all these people? What's wrong with these political people? And what's wrong with Democrats? And what's wrong with Republicans? And what's wrong with the libertarians? And what's wrong with anyone who has a political opinion? And all of a sudden you are not really connected or in abundance. You are in blame, you're in judgment, you're in fear. You're in this human game that's pretty made up. But then if you turn your focus to gratitude and appreciation, suddenly it's like, oh, I love this flower. Oh, I love my friends. Oh, I love this company that's doing great things for the world and for nature. And suddenly life seems more abundant. And you're brought out of doom and gloom mentality and into what else can I create? Where else is abundance for me? And getting lost in that game, that doom and gloom, what's going on in politics. And there's nothing wrong with keeping up with that or keeping up with society and social issues. And many of you are wired for that and are meant to tackle those issues head on and be a spokesperson about those things and help to change people's realities and minds for the better through undertaking those improvements of society through your actions and words. But at the same time, getting lost in that game and getting lost in blame and judgment and thinking the world's going to crap, does that really improve your life? Does that really lead you to abundance? Or does it hijack, not literally, but figuratively hijack your mind and keep you from focusing on the things that you could control or could create that would make the world a much better place. You could start a business that plants more trees, and people are doing this, or clean up the ocean. Or you could start a business that is healing for other people. But if you're mired in the game of judgment, blame, doom and gloom, you suddenly start to lose hope or wonder what's the point. But you are creating it. Not necessarily the point, but you are creating the future through your actions. You are creating your life through your actions, through your intentions. And if you are caught up in this doom and gloom or this blame and judgment game, you are not really creating anymore. You are kind of brought away from your abundance. Plus, when you are looking at these things, do you feel more connected or less? And you're always connected. Do you feel more connected to people when you're judging a political party or specific person, or do you feel less connected? Do you feel more of spirit when you're thinking the world is going to be apocalyptic tomorrow, or do you feel less of spirit? And the world is not going to die like that. And many of you are afraid of the world ending. It's not. Not soon. You have a ways. And humanity is evolving. Many of you think humanity is doomed to stay the way it is forever, but it's not. The DNA is changing. Things are moving forward. And you might not see it right away, but humanity is evolving. And part of the spiritual awakening you're seeing in a mass way on the planet is part of the, yes, rise of consciousness, also the DNA awakening of humans towards spirituality to avoid doom, you could say. You have become so globally connected, you need to evolve. Otherwise, it's just war all the time. And it won't be. The world is not going to end, so don't use that as an excuse to stay away from your abundance. Focus on what you can create. Focus on what's next. Focus on what you're excited about. Focus on what the possibilities are. And that will lead you to abundance. So we leave you with those messages, and we hope you have found this healing, uplifting. You are headed towards abundance. And it might not seem like it right now, but the more you connect with yourself, the more you connect with source, with spirits, with others, with your pets, with the vibrance of life, with the energy that is everything, with your spirituality, you will find that abundance becomes natural for you. It will become a way of living and being. And as you become more spiritually abundant, you can become more physically abundant. It'll be easier. There'll be less resistance. You'll be more open to it. You'll be like, if spirit says this is for me, this is for me. And you will just receive it. Or you can get to that place, at least. So we leave you with that today. We hope you found this of service. Many of you have. We wish you well. And may abundance find you in droves, true abundance, and what abundance means for you. All is well. We leave you now. Take care. Whew. You're welcome. I hope that was good. That one seemed a little bit different than like the last one, but hi, Julie Brown from New Jersey. So I don't mind staying on for a bit before we end the live here. But yeah, you're welcome, guys. Love you too, Shelby. You're welcome. That was a lot. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, the train. I'm glad you guys hear that, because that's always like really confirming for me. And then I love when it comes in here. Avery Marie. Give me 1 second. So you're asking about advice for intrusive thoughts. So give me 1 second here. What would be the best advice for intrusive thoughts for you and anyone else tuning in? One is like, it's not all yours is something I'm hearing. So having some form of recognizing, like, is this energy mine or someone else's, like when that happens. So when you have a thought is like, is this mine or someone else's? And I'm borrowing a little bit from Access Consciousness. Actually, I think that book would be really good for you. Being You, Changing the World Is Now the Time by Dr. Dane Here. They really, if you haven't already read it, they're recommending that one for you, Avery. I don't know if that's gonna heal your intrusive thoughts necessarily, but I feel like there's things in that would be good for you or help move you in the right direction for you. But that's one of the things they talk about in that book. And even just if you look up Access Consciousness and like, who does this belong to, or something on YouTube or Google, like something should come up to you. But there's a couple of ways they approach it where it's like, you know, if you ask who does this belong to, and that energy or thought like lightens up, then it's not yours essentially. So if you ask, who does this belong to? Is it mine or someone else's? It lightens up, it's not yours. And then you can do return to sender. And it's not like you're being like, yeah, go get that sender. Yeah. It's more just like, who did it originate from? And you're just sending it back to the original, like, originator, so they can work with it and shift it, instead of you dealing with other people's stuff, if that makes sense. Another thing you can do, I'll get into it because they want me to, but I know this might not make sense for everyone else tuning in. If you have another access, I'm borrowing from Access Consciousness. I do have like other things I do, but it's in like different modalities. It would be a little bit more to get into. But if you go with Access Consciousness, another thing you can do is like, they have this clearing statement, and if I'll say it right now, and you can just, I'm not trying to advertise for Access Consciousness. I'm not even like a certified practitioner or anything. I've utilized a lot of their free resources and tools, and my guides will guide me through when and how to use it. One's for the highest good, but I think that's why they want to recommend that book for you. They go through a lot of those tools, but there's a clearing statement, and it won't make sense when I say it, but if you go to the clearingstatement.com, they have like a whole explanation, and it's something like let's say you have an issue, and what's the best way to give an example of this? So maybe, like, let's say you're trying to manifest something. You're like, okay, I'm asking for peace in my life universe, and anything not allowing that to show up. And so regarding anything not allowing it to show up, you'd use the clearing statement. I uncreate and destroy right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. And it kind of gets rid of all the stuff in the way of it showing up. So there's a shortened version of the clearing statement called pot and pock. And so every time you have an intrusive thought, be like, okay, everything allowing that and intrusive thoughts to exist, I pot and pocket, I pot and pocket, I pot and pocket. And then you're kind of using that clearing statement for the issue. And it might not clear it right away. It might like take a little bit of time of using the clearing statement on those intrusive thoughts to like clear it out. But that's something to try, at least, and something to look into and try and see if that would help to shift anything regarding intrusive thoughts, if that makes sense. And you might have to look into Access Consciousness a bit more and hear them talk about it a bit more for it. That all totally makes sense, by the way, but at least, hopefully that's at least a start in the right direction for dealing with those. This is the other advice I have is going to sound a little bit basic, but there is something to be said, like when you have a lot of anxiety or something like that, or like fear that you're going through, like one thing I've heard from other people is like, when you have a constant pattern running like that, it might take another new thing you're doing consistently to dissipate that negative, to quote unquote pattern, or to bring in something different. So, and you know, if you're constantly having anxiety, like bringing in a constant practice, like meditating every day for a certain amount of time, or yoga, or something that you're doing like consistently to start to abate that or dissipate that, could also just be something that's helpful. And if you don't feel like meditation's helping you, maybe some type of consistent practice that's something else that you have either stumbled upon or will stumble upon can be something that helps to start to dissipate that pattern, if that makes sense. So hopefully that helps regarding intrusive thoughts here. So thanks for the elephant confirmation on your t-shirt. You're welcome, Marie. Lainey, I get the manifestations will come in. Yeah. So Melissa, are you meant to leave your current career? Also, do you know when you will do your next Reiki one? As far as like, are you meant to leave your current career? Yes, eventually is what I got. Maybe not right away. And it's okay if you do leave it right away, but I'm hearing like you might end up doing something similar. And maybe there's certain things you need to heal before you're ready for something new is something I'm hearing, but eventually, yes, you're going to leave that career. As far as like Reiki 1, the next class, I can set one up for September, like later in September or in October. I have a lot of classes I need to do and set up in these next couple months, but I could probably do that, and I'll probably make a post about that when I do. Okay. Lily, can you do anything to get out of writing block? Funny enough, Ganesha is usually like someone that a being that writers will turn to, like either a mantra or just something, because like, you know, writer's block is like an obstacle and is the Hindu god of removing obstacles. So anything else for you on that before I move on though, on overcoming writer's block? So I'm getting a weird advice. Like if you feel like you have writer's block, you're like, okay, sit down and just type like a word and then see what comes after that. And like, it doesn't matter if it's crappy. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense to you right away. Just like type a word and like see if more words come, which sounds really lame, but sometimes just getting the motion forward will carry it forward, if that makes sense. So I would do either like I don't know if a Ganesha mantra or just asking Ganesha for help or setting some intention that he helps you remove the writer's block. And then like just writing a word or a sentence and just seeing like, does anything flow after that? So I know like common advice for writers with writer's block is just like write something crappy, just show up and write something and don't care if it's crappy or good or whatever, and just keep going. But I also feel like that writer's block is something that's naturally going to fade after a week. So that's also a thing I'm hearing on that. So I hope that helps. I found writer's block is helped by writing about the blocks. There you go. Rebel Elemental coming in clutch with some more advice. Yeah, you're welcome. Hope all that helps. Okay. Yeah, I was just getting it's probably time for me to end the live here. I know everyone misses Q and channel day. But they're showing me to end the live. So I hope I know some of you might have just tuned in now, but I just did a whole slew of general readings on the channel, but I hope all of this was helpful and good. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or week, and I will absolutely see you next week, or at least on TikTok sometime in the future. So I'm wishing you all super well for sure. You guys are welcome. But they want me to end it now for some reason. So you guys take care, okay?